Hello, everyone. This is author Tim Brown of the book Uncommon Athletes, and also on staff with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I'm blessed today as we continue our Uncommon Athletes series to have with me today Coach Reggie Lee. Coach is a great friend and a great mentor of mine. He's one who got me involved in basketball throughout the years, and I've been blessed to know him. But Coach is also a Hall of Fame coach. Coach was inducted to the Ohio High School Basketball Hall of Fame. I was looking at his bio. He won a state championship nationally in 1996 at 28-0, but also won over 500 games his career, to be exact, 515 games. Coach was a 30-year coach at Brookhaven High School. He was blessed to coach 3 Ohio Player of the Years, Jay Jones in '87, Helen Darling in 1996, and Brittany Hunter in 2003. Helen and Brittany were also McDonald's All-Americans. I think Brittany was a Player of the Year in the nation. So Coach has been around, also been involved a lot in AAU basketball and with the growth of that in Central Ohio. So Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thank you for the invite. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I wanted to jump right. First off, can you share how you got involved? I know you began coaching in 1981. How did you get involved in girls basketball?
Well, Tim, it's kind of, well, actually, I was at Walnut Ridge was my first year. That's the only year that I was not at Brookhaven. I taught 35 years at Brookhaven High School, but my first 34 years, my first year was at Walnut Ridge. Mm-hmm. And, I love basketball, played a little bit growing up, but Walnut Ridge happened to have one of the best teams in the state. And so it really drew my attention because it had players like Lynn Callender, Helen Darling had a cousin there that went on and played at Purdue. And it was just the level of play that I would witness with these young ladies. And I went over to Brookhaven and I started coaching football. I coached a little track at Walnut Ridge. And young lady, we used to talk because I tried to befriend as many students as I could as a teacher, because the more friends you had as students, the better you got to know the students. So young lady, we used to talk all the time about basketball, and they asked me to come around a lot. And, I would come around, but one day the head coach got sick. And they really didn't have a JV program at the time. And the young ladies came and got me out of the study hall and said they were going to play Walnut Ridge that night, and asked me if I would coach them that night because they had no coach. So I went over there and we got pounded by Walnut Ridge. They were up about 40. And I was trying to figure out and talk to the girls how we might be able to get this lead down. But one of the things they appreciated was that I kept trying. And that they said that had not happened before. And they liked the spirit that I tried to give them. And I started coming around the gym. And the next year, I became a JV coach. We put together a JV team. And after that, the head coach, he gave it up the next year because he had money and he started a car wash. And they named me the head coach. And I had no coaching experience, but that's pretty much how I got started. So it was kind of unusual situation. No experience, but just a person that just loved the game.
Yeah, that's usually how that's a great testimony, great story, great backstory. And now let's look at 30 years later. How were you able to maintain that same fire, same enthusiasm for 3 decades? For 3 decades of coaching, because girls have changed, attitudes have changed, as people say. But how were you able to maintain that for 30 years?
Well, I think it was because of how I got kind of indoctrinated into coaching in terms of how I put myself out there. I wanted to be the best I could be because of things I learned as a player just in junior high school. I came from junior high school program where success was the only thing. We won like 69 games in a row. And I was, unfortunately, the next game we lost, I was point guard, and my junior high school coach let me know that. But success was embedded in me, and I said, how are we going to do this? And so I went to a bunch of basketball clinics and learned a lot from those clinics. And I started investing, and right now downstairs I got thousands of dollars worth of basketball tape and videos and things like that. So, but one of the things that was very, very important to my program was I developed a code of conduct. from that code of conduct, the young ladies bought into that. And that code of conduct that really directed our program because it held the young ladies accountable. And I was fortunate enough that they did buy into that program. And once they start seeing successes, I think it just kind of snowballed, and it actually developed a culture for us at Brookhaven because success breeds success, and everybody always wanted to just be a part of that. And I think that's what really sustained us through my 30 years of coaching. Sometimes I talk to our assistant coaches. Sometimes we say, you know, sometimes we look at our team and say, how do we win? I mean, because when we look at the beginning of our season, maybe we didn't feel like we had that, you know, what it would take to get to the next level, to get to a district championship. And even our last year, we made it to the district championship, lost to Reynoldsburg. And we did it with some freshmen, like 3 freshmen, and we had 2 or 3 players hurt. But it was because of the hard work, and number one thing was the discipline and the accountability that we held our student athletes to. And that carried over from the first year when we started that code of conduct. And I think that might have been the most important vehicle that we had that helped our program.
You began in 1981, and wasn't a lot of girls playing basketball. Definitely wasn't a lot of scholarships, so girls probably didn't realize that those opportunities were there. How would you equate the rise of girls basketball, particularly in Central Ohio, now being a hotbed for girls basketball? Can you talk about that, how that happened and why it's still there today?
Well, Tim, it really, with my program, it really started with you. And I think this is the same thing it was throughout Central Ohio, was the rise of AAU basketball. I met you around 83, 84, and I had a pretty decent team, but basketball was not year round at that time. Our kids just played during the school year, and you came along and you started getting our kids involved with summer basketball. And we started as coaches throughout Central Ohio. We started seeing that our kids came back to us during the fall as better basketball players. And so we started buying into the AAU program because our program started becoming more successful the more kids we got involved. AAU got more competitive, and the more competitive AAU got, the more kids got involved. And then I think with that, and you remember, we started getting kids in college.
Yeah.
And, you know, parents started buying into it. Better coaching came along. And when you can tell a kid you can go to this school out of state that costs $40,000, $50,000 a year, and you can go free, and you know, parents don't have to worry about getting student loans. I think that's what really started growing basketball in Central Ohio. And then over the years, it's just a snowball. I think the only downside is that because of the competitiveness, you know, when we started, that AAU was regional. You couldn't go and get people from Urbana and this town and stack your team. Well, that kind of changed with AAU basketball. So the downside is that a lot of high schools have benefited from kids playing together in the summertime, and a lot of times they'll get together with the parents and coaches. They'll stack the same teams, and you know, that's the only downside. But the beauty of it is, though, kids are able to go to college free more than people think out there. I mean, even if you go to a Division II or NAIA school, there's no such thing as a bad education.
Right. Yeah, I think the other thing, our connection with you was just the willingness to expose our girls, to expose those young ladies to different opportunities, you know, outside the area. I remember some of those road trips that you made. I think you drove, I think it was either Jay Jones or somebody over to Rutgers in the middle of the night. You know,
yes.
And picking her up, you know, and driving her back, you know.
Yeah.
And just
I actually went down to take her to the Rutgers camp. It was an All-American camp. Sometimes you had to do certain things in order to be recognized at the next level.
Right.
And she did not have a way to get there. So I said, I'm going to take you. I got down there, and Bill Moss was actually one of the persons helping running that camp. And he tried to actually get me to stay to actually help coach that camp. But I actually came back home and went back to Rutgers to pick her up.
Yeah.
You know, man, what we do for kids, man, I mean, That's why we've been blessed because we've had kids that actually wanted to do it, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to help kids who wanted to be helped, and so that we could see them grow and be successful.
Right. As you think about players that you coached or just players in general, what was it about them that some of them just had an it factor, something about them, like the Jay Jones, the Helen Darlings, and those type? What is it about that athlete that gives them that it factor?
It was just the way that they went about trying to be better. We as coaches, I went to a clinic one time and I heard a college coach say, any coach that tells an athlete that we can make you a better basketball player is really fooling themselves. Mm-hmm. Or we can't make them a better basketball. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I tried and we tried to tell athletes, only you can make yourself a better basketball player. We can tell you how to do it. Mm-hmm. And we would tell those kids how to do that. And the Jay Jones, the Brittany's, the Helens, the Kylie Carters, the Lisa Wube's, all those athletes, one of the things, and you give them something to do, and they did it. And one of the things I used to say, they would be dripping wet after they left a workout. And, my open gyms consisted of, we didn't just play games. I would lay workout sheets down all around the gym. You pick up a workout sheet and you do it. And if you didn't want to be there, then you didn't have to be there. Only people that were invited were the people that wanted to be there. And that's what made these kids so uncommon. They wanted to be there. If I said 7:30 in the morning is going to be your workout, I'd like to see you get an answer. You could have the rest of the day. They would be there at 7:30. And for that hour and a half, man, they would get as much work as most kids would get in a 2-hour workout. So it was just the way they went about trying to make themselves better. And they never complained. It was all about, I want to be successful. I've seen kids go, this is what they're saying to themselves. I've seen a friend of mine, or I've seen this young lady go to college. I've seen these examples that were before me, and this is what I want to be about. And they were just driven. They were self-driven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the book, we talk about uncommon integrity. And that's what when you were speaking about that code of conduct, how the young ladies would kind of police themselves, so to speak, to make sure. And I remember, like I said, the Helen Darlings and the Jay, if they were working hard, everybody was going to work hard.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
Hard. Everybody's going to do that. So can you speak to?
And when you say that, it's important because we didn't treat them any different than the other athletes. I mean, we were hard on them. I can remember putting Jay out the gym and taping up the window so she couldn't even look inside. And what kind of impact do you think that has on a young lady who's just learning how to play basketball? She's thinking, if he does that, if he'll do that to her, what would he do to me? So, I mean, I got to buckle down. So you're right. We these young ladies set the example, and they were leaders, and they really, without knowing, mm-hmm. were leaders that really helped the other young ladies become successful too.
Yeah, it was that. Yeah, it wasn't a selfish thing. It was a selfless thing.
Absolutely.
And that was the beauty of those AAU teams. We had some girls. Sure, we had some top players, but we had some other girls who were just, they were still contributors. They were along for the ride, but the better girls just kind of, they pushed each other.
They did. Some of those young ladies actually, I don't know what the word is, osmosis. They got better from just being part of it, and some of them went on, not whether they went to college or not. I think a lot of times the attitudes and the work habits that they developed enabled them to be successful in other phases of life.
And that's the important thing. Speaking of that, how did you continue the balance of academics and basketball in your program? Because I knowing you and watching your teams, I can't think of any time there was a kid who was ineligible, who didn't get to play because of grades. How did you maintain that balance on your team between academics and basketball and be successful in both areas?
I made that a part of my code of conduct. Columbus Public School had said, well, you have to have a 2.5 grade point average in order to be eligible. Actually, it was a 2-point grade point average in order to be successful. But as a teacher, I'm thinking that's the bare minimum. We're not asking very, very much. And I think that's one of the problems with education is that our expectations of our students, not just our student athletes, but our students in general, are not high enough. Mm-hmm. So in my code of conduct, I said, I'm not going to say 2 points. And we had so many different rules that the kids knew that in order to make the team, they had to uphold those rules, and the 2.5 was part of it. I did give them a 1 lifetime probation where if they didn't make eligibility, they would get 1 lifetime probation. But because of our success as a basketball team, they wanted to be a part of the basketball team, and they would do whatever it took. But we also monitored the kids' grades on a weekly basis. And if you weren't doing what you were supposed to do, there was a penalty for that. You might have to run 20 extra laps to do that. But one of the things I started seeing was that because they bought into that, our grades were really very good. And so one time I said, let me take a team average on our grades. And it was like about a 3.0. Mm-hmm. I said, you know what, that would be a good goal for this team. Would be if we could maintain the 3.0 every year, then we kind of up it to a 3.2. Now, mind you, there's going to be a couple kids that's going to have 2.6 or 2.7, but then you're going to have that Kylie Carter that's going to have a 4.1. You're going to take it up. But it did not come out to a 3.0. And I would say that through 30 years of coaching, we never had a grade period where we did not have at least a 3.0 8-point average. And I'd say I'm more proud of that, Tim, than state championships or 515 wins, because man, that just warmed my heart that these young ladies could do this year in and year out. And it showed they all, so many of our teams went on, our players, not just because it's on a college scholarship, but they went on academically. We've had kids that won the Gates Millennium Scholarship, which is a 10-year scholarship. And we've had 4 young ladies win that scholarship. So it became part of the culture.
Culture, yeah, that's a key word. So as we wrap up, I know as you transition now into being an ambassador, for the game and mentoring younger coaches. I've seen you on the sideline helping the younger coaches. What word would you give to them as they build that culture? How would you help them in building that? What would you say to them how to build a culture of success?
I would say that one of the Coach Holly Robinson and I think Coach Robinson made up it was a quote. We don't want to. We want to win. We'd rather lose with winners than win with losers. Mm-hmm. So our philosophy was, we're not going to just win just for the sake of winning. We want to develop winners in terms of our kids' attitude. So when you set up your program, don't think about just winning. Think about building kids who are going to be successful in life, who's going to, we're going to try to teach those things outside of basketball, such as hard work, not just hard work on the court, hard work that it takes to make yourself a better person. And that's developing discipline. And it doesn't do us any good if we put an athlete out there and that athlete goes to college and they're all American, but they let us down because they didn't have the discipline to make the right decision because somebody said, let's go stick this up, or let's go to this girl's dorm and do something stupid. Those are the things that as a coach, you look back, you say, well, our kids went on, they all graduated, versus we had some athletes that went to college and they embarrassed the program. They embarrassed our program. Whereas if we had made them more accountable to themselves and to the school and to the administrators, we would have developed better citizenship. So I would tell coaches, don't think about just winning. Think about building better people when you develop the program. And that's why, again, I always go back to that code of conduct. We try to develop a culture in which we try to make better people in our program.
That's good stuff. That's a good word for young coaches to live by, to chew on. Coach Lee, it's always a pleasure. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to personally thank you for myself and for all the young ladies that you've impacted, and young men as well. That you've impacted throughout the years, and we appreciate everything that you've done for not just the game of basketball, but as you were saying, just to make better people, better citizens. And it was a joy for me to attend that Hall of Fame induction ceremony for you, and then just to watch the other young lady who came back, and you had about about 4 or 5 tables full of persons, who just came back to support you, and I was glad that I was a part of that. I was a part of that celebration because it was truly deserved. And you've been a great friend, a great mentor, and I appreciate everything that you've done for the game of basketball.
Yeah, let me say, when you and Carmen showed up at that Hall of Fame, you don't know what that meant to me, because you two with the development of your Take ABC program, that really jump-started my program, not because it gave my kids exposure to be able to play more basketball, but because of the principles that you guys taught with that program: talented athletes competing for excellence, achiever believers, competitors. And those things I tried to carry over into my program, and that was really the start of what a program really means. And your program was the first example of that for me. And we thank you guys for that.
All right, Coach. Well, enjoy that golf game, because I know you can't wait to get out there.
Hey, we try to get out there Thursday.